Greetings and welcome back, fellow audio enthusiasts. I am your host, Jason, and this is two-channel listening. So for this week's review, I do not need to go into my usual long format style because, as most of you should be fully aware of this manufacturer, New Acoustics Dimension, or from 1972, as we all know them, NAD, they need no introduction from little old me. My product that I will be reviewing is the NAD C658 Network Streamer. Now, because I won't be going into my long formats, there's something else that I'm not going to be doing with that long format. No, I'm going to leave it to this guy, Mr. Hans here. Now, if you want a blow-by-blow, near molecular dissection of what the NAD C658 is, does, performs, functionality, this man here, he covers it all and then some. He looks at the boards, he looks under the bonnet, he'll show you the inputs, he'll show you all the cross functionality, and he'll even get into the DAC setup for you. I need not do that. I need not even bother to replicate what this man has done as far as giving you the full layout of the NAD C658. No, more true to my style, quite the antithesis to the ASR guys. I'm just going to blab on about the truth as I see it in my system and give you guys a real world viewpoint of how I used it, all the combinations that I've used it, and out of a line of 23 different standalone DACs I've owned, what are my final thoughts on it as a standalone product. So let's talk about the NAD C658 as a network streamer combination preamp. For those of you who have been following me in my journey, I will say that the NAD C658 is actually not even a product that I was seeking out. Truth be told, I was hopeful that the Matrix Element I would serve to be the actual backbone of my system for a long time. Another truth to be told is I've lost the taste for chasing DACs a long time ago. I felt that I noticed less dramatic difference between particular analog converters versus other pieces that were in the chain. And I feel like when you can find a solid digital analog converter that can do most things that you want, which I had hoped that the Element I was going to do for me, I want a DAC that can serve as preamp function for when I absolutely want to change between integrated amplifiers or standalone stereo amplifiers. And or I also must have a network streaming DAC that allows me to plug in and use my Synology 216 Play, allows me to go back and forth between Spotify from a convenience standpoint, and it just happens to be still one of the biggest libraries I have online, or my Amazon HD that I've been building on ever since I started that subscription last year. So with those things in mind, oh, and sorry, it had to have balanced outs. So, long way of saying the Matrix Element I, for me, was a pretty big failure of a product in my system. It did not work with the software that I had. After 16 hours of screwing with it, I could not get it to work with the Synology 216 Play. And I will also say, with all of the different speaker and amplifier combinations I had at that time, that Matrix, even with all of the filters, the 6 different types of filters that you could use, every single one of them still imparted a pretty significant sonic signature on every piece of the chain. And to me, that was just, it was too much. It was just, it had to go. It wasn't something that could serve as the backbone of my system. Now, NAD as a brand, as a manufacturer, some would say that you couldn't be a truly refined, or shall I say, you couldn't be a well-rounded audiophile if you've never at any point in your audiophile journey have owned at least one NAD product. For me, the C658 is number 3 in my stable. NAD is a solid manufacturer that always gives a high amount of return on investment. Its manufacturing processes, the fact that they don't go with fancy casework, sans their Master Series, they really still truly focus on a quality product at a very good price. And then when you add the BluOS operating system with NAD and the reliability, what more could one ask for? The Blue nodes, it seems like almost every audiophile has a Blue node or has had a Blue node in their system at some point. For me, I still had to have the network streaming capability with the preamp function and something that was just, I knew would be a little bit more robust. So with BluOS and NAD together, the C658 at its price point all of a sudden started to make a very compelling argument. I sought one out at a secondhand on AudioGone. I bought it, and for the last 3 months, that thing has been getting an incredible workout in my system. As I was thinking about doing the notes for this particular review, I started to write out all the different combinations, the speakers and the amplifiers / integrated amps that I've had. And here's a chart. I have to share this chart with you. This is all the pieces that are getting passed through the C658 signal. 7 different speakers and 7 different amplifier combinations. That's quite a workout in just 3 months. Now, let's get into this, okay? Because of those combinations and what I will call extreme differences in price matching, the very cool thing about what the NAD has done for me is that I've noticed that at all the different price levels and price extremes, witnessed a particular characteristic of the NAD that I am going to say in my system has been a very nice point of neutrality. With each change in the chain and with each extreme price difference, and let me explain quickly the price difference. When you go from the Opera Mesa Grands at $3,600 and I happen to pair them with a Yamaha AX592 integrated amplifier from the 90s, a $100 piece of kit that I picked up with a $3,600 pair of speakers, that is a pretty big chasm in a price combination for the system playback. A $1,600 streamer playing into a $100 used integrated amplifier playing into $3,600 slimline towers. Nevertheless, I was able to listen more to what the Yamaha offered me. And more so, that Yamaha was tied into my audio control Architecture Series 110 amplifier review, a $700 old school Class D amplifier that frankly I thought was dog crap. It was absolutely one of the more shrill combinations. When I put the audio control 110 with the Sony M3s, that was a very cool, bright, practically shrill combination in my system. And the NAD remained pretty neutral to what was going on, because I immediately would take the Architect out, I'd put in the Yamaha, things would chill out, but there was that Yamaha sound signature that I've heard throughout my audio journey. and on and on and on, all those different combinations of 7 speakers with 7 different amplifiers, until I finally get to the most extreme of the entire system. And that is my latest acquisition, the Avalon Acoustics Radians, with those monoblocks I reviewed last year, the Emotiva L1s that I borrowed from Dave of Authentic Audio. Talk about price point extremes. Again, you have a 1990 speaker that was $14,000 new with these Emotiva monoblocks. Here's the big thing I have to convey to you. Those amazing speakers allow me to hear how good the NAD is at detail retrieval. Not a sonic signature. I'm not talking about the warmness or a coolness or an openness, or just the fact that the NAD continues to allow for full detail retrieval of whatever song or album I am using. Now, with the NAD, I've also connected it to 546 CD player into its digital in. Wow. Again, 2 budget products playing with a $14,000 speaker. I'm absolutely blown away, and in conjunction with the Emotiva monoblocks. Monoblocks that can be bought today for $700 for the pair. Absolute wow factor. Go back to the warmest combination I had of this group, of this chart, and that would be my Performance One green speakers here, number ones, with the NAD old school receiver, the 7400 PE and the C658. Euphonically pleasing and an incredibly warm sound presentation. I absolutely fell in love with that 7400 receiver. Unfortunately, it was sold a little too fast, and I wasn't able to have it longer so that I could do a full review for you guys. I do at some point hope to get my hands on a very nice 7600, because those receivers from that era of NAD, just blown away by their sonic attributes. Again, kind of this warm euphonic signature that they have, yet still very strong performers. And I would say with this combination of 7x7, that was the warmest. Whereas, again, the Sony with the audio control was the coolest, and again, I'm going to say the most harsh. If I'm going to go dead nuts neutral, that right now, with the combinations that I have, the Emotiva monoblocks with my Avalon speakers, that combination has not let me down with the absolute detail retrieval. I keep saying that because until those Avalons, I didn't know what the endpoint was of how much the system could reveal. When I put in the ADS L1590s, I was getting an incredible amount of system detail retrieval at that point. Put those Avalons in, and I'm on a whole nother level of being blown away at what very cheap budget electronics can do with an outright total top of the line speaker such as the Avalons. I mean, seriously, folks, the monoblocks with the NAD C658s, that front end, those 2 pieces would cost me $1,700 as the combination. With those Avalons, I mean, I just don't know how much I don't know any other way to show an extreme value proposition on this channel. This is something that I shoot for all the time. Mostly secondhand products at the extremes, crazy combinations of speakers. Right now, I've hit an incredible sweet spot I never expected to hit in this journey. Taking this a step further, with how awesome and how pleased I am with the NAD C658 and the fact that it doesn't impart strong sonic signature, I will bring up other DACs in my journey that cost more than twice the NAD. The SOTM1000 DAC, that was a DAC preamp, battery operated from Korea. That was like a $3,200 unit several years ago. And it had a very analog presentation to it. To take it to another level, as much as I love Peachtree, when I look back at all the DACs, and if I were to stack them up, the very expensive Peachtree Grand Prix DAC preamp combination with the tube buffer was probably the least revealing of the preamp DAC combinations that I have. As a matter of fact, when you actually turned on the tube buffer, you would tend to lose too much detail retrieval, and it had a very strong signature flex on the system. I knew that I had to get rid of the Peachtree Grand Prix in order for my system to continue to elevate. That preamp DAC was not a good combination for me. It definitely subtracted a lot more than what it could add. And then there is probably what I would say is the best of the DACs that I've owned. The absolute, if I had to rate all my DACs, this one being the #1 performer that I've had over the last 10 years, it would be the Moon Audio 280D with the Mind Control app. Like the NAD C658, that was a very strong performing digital analog converter that was very neutral to every piece, every change that I had in the system. No matter what, no matter the album, it played what was there, and I did not take away anything from the system, and it did not add too much to the system. It just served its job very well, and basically allowed you to extract as much as the value of the system, or as well built as the system was. That Moon Audio 280D reminds me of what the C658 does for me today. And that, I would say, for NAD is a very high watermark out of 23 different digital analog converters that I have owned. I am that happy with the NAD C658 that I know that it can serve as the backbone to my system for the long haul. I have no inclination, nor am I looking at other digital analog converters that I even want to try, or different preamps that I want to add into the system. No, right now, because of the Avalon acoustic speakers that I have, I am solely focused on improving the amplification to just see how much I can get out of these Radians that are now in my system. Knowing what the NAD has been able to do to this point with either hooking up CD players to its digital input, using it as a Bluetooth system, using it as a USB DAC, albeit now that I have it connected directly to my network, I have no use for it as a USB input. Not to take away from it, it's just I don't need to have that extra cable coming across the carpet to a laptop or something off to the side. It's directly connected via the Cat 6 cable that I have on the back wall. Finds the network, plays with my Synology whenever I want, and this is even the next best part for me as a user. I have not turned that NAD off since it's been in my system. It stays on all the time. When I'm done with the listening session, I simply hit pause. Be it I come back to it in a few hours or even a couple of days, I hit play and it picks up right where I left off. I don't have to reshuffle. I don't have to go through and pick a whole bunch of new songs. The only time that comes into play is when I'm demoing it for other folks and I need to go in and find different songs. I can switch out of it. I can get out of my 216 library. I can go to Amazon HD. I can go to Qbuzz. Whatever it is that I need to do to find a different song, it allows me to stay within the BluOS app and then go through all of the different sources that I can choose from. Folks, I love this product. It is something that allows me to forget about that side of my system and focus on improving the other end of it. As a reviewer, it makes my job easier. I love it. I love the C658. It is an awesome product for what you are paying for. You have to forgive my excitement and all the jumping around that I've done with this particular review. It's just, it's that important of a product to what I've been doing, and it's kind of interesting that for me, because of all the different combinations that I have and because of all the different products that I've owned, it's special to be able to forget about something and not get the audio nervosa and go, oh my God, this is still not what I want. Now I got to go back to the drawing board, research another product that's going to be a better network streamer, and then I get focused on that particular category and not speakers and not amplifiers. Again, I don't get excited about digital analog converters. I don't get excited about streamers. There's a lot of other YouTube reviewers that do. I actually really dislike having to go look for digital analog converters and spending big money to have something that's really decent. I don't like it. If I'm going to spend a bunch of money, I want it to be speakers first and then amplification second. Everything else to me is tertiary. I don't really want to put a bunch of money towards that. For the value proposition, I don't want to put any money towards those items. I want to get away with as good a quality as I can for as cheaply as I can. And again, that's what this channel for me represents, what I try to present to my viewers and my subscribers. So, you know, this one is very soapboxy, and forgive me for that, but you know, at the same time, the NAD for me, I can absolutely say that it is going to be the backbone of my system. I have, because of those Avalon speakers, I now know that there's no limit to what it can do as far as detail retrievals. If there's going to be a choke point in my system at this point, it's going to be the amplification. And I'm not saying that as a knock on the Emotiva the L1s. Right now, I'm completely impressed with those again as a second round of those being in my system. It just goes to show that my old Marantz network streamer wasn't up to snuff compared to the NAD. Sorry, Marantz. It is what it is. I'm going to ensure that I also categorize the DACs for you, and I will absolutely list out what the top 5 of my 24 DACs, 23 DACs were in my system for the last 11 years. And I hope that that's, you know, I hope this is of some value for you guys out there that don't want to spend huge money on a piece like that, like I do. I'd rather, you know, put that money someplace else where it's going to make a bigger impact. If you have any questions on the list of DACs that I've owned, you know where to find me. Go to twochanellistening.com. My email's available. And as anybody can attest, I answer my emails. And I know that this channel won't grow if it wasn't for you guys and the support that you give me. So, you know, that's my way of giving back, that someone else can be accessible for you guys, and that I can, you know, if I can help find an answer for you that you're looking for, I do that. Other than that, I'm going to wrap this bad boy up and say that I am in a hunt for some different amps for those Avalon speakers. I am all over the board right now. I have no indication of which way I'm going to go. I could go with a really powerful tube amplifier again. I might go with a different set of monoblocks. I may go Class A. I may go Class AB. I really am kind of done with Class D for right now, just because I've had so many Class D items in a row. I'd rather go a little bit old school with these Radians because of the vintage that we're dealing with and the sheer power that they require. I've almost tapped out these Emotiva monoblocks. These Avalons mean business. So tune in for that in the future of what I actually settle on for those speakers. I've just passed 3,000 subscribers. Thank you all for you, my subscribers, tuning in on a bi-monthly basis. And until next time, I wish you all a very great week. Be kind to one another. Let's enjoy those audio systems for the transportation devices that they are, the true time machines, the music itself, that song that takes you back to that particular moment you've heard it the first time. That's what makes all of this very special and worth all of the persnicketyness and the fussiness that we go through as audiophiles. It is, at the end of the day, the way that the music hits us. And I'm grateful for being able to do what I do with this hobby. Everyone, thank you so much. Have a great week.